with your parents. I was asked a number of questions, and I was given some information, some of which I should share with you, some of which I shouldn't. However, I was informed 5 years ago, Mrs. Marge Colehouse began this. Yeah. I usually have a walking microphone. Do I have one tonight? Let me mark that down. But I hate standing behind this thing, I really do. Mr. Bill and Mrs. Marie O'Shea are with us this evening, and 5 years ago when Mrs. Colehouse started this, they had a youngster who was here, and they've been coming for 5 years because their youngsters have just continued to be B+ students. Now I would ask that if there's any parents in the audience who have had youngsters here with a B+ average for 5 years, would you please stand? And let's acknowledge those parents. Over here? Oh, that's nice. Good. Congratulations. That's very nice. Interestingly enough, the O'Sheas, I told them that if they had any more kids, we'd be delighted to have them as students. And they said, well, good, because we have one in first grade. I've assured them that they will have a different principal. I won't be here then. I'm hoping I can be here tomorrow. I was asked another question. Gosh, it's amazing. You know, it's amazing when you put your glasses on what you can see. I was asked a question about what was the average verbal and what was the SAT scores for North Penn last year. And I'm very proud to say that the national average for verbal was 424, and North Penn was 454, and the national average for math was 476, and North Penn was 487. And what makes that even more significant, as I said in the cafeteria, is that we had the largest percentage of students ever, at least for which we've been keeping records, take the SATs. And normally the more people take the SAT, the lower the scores are. That says something for this next group of people that I'm going to ask to stand up, and I wish you would give a nice warm round of applause for those faculty who are here representing 165 fine young people. Would the North Penn High School faculty in attendance please stand? We're honored to have two very fine graduates with us this evening who will speak to us. We have Dr. Yarwood will introduce Mrs. Johnson. Following Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Finnemeyer will introduce Mr. Weber. Let me assure you, however, that you're in for a treat, because it's amazing how when you come back, how everyone lays claim to your fame. And these two have had an awful lot of faculty people come over and tell them how great a job they did with them this evening. And now's their turn to show them just how well they did. Just a little bit of pressure. Dr. Bill Yarwood, Director of Guidance, will introduce Mrs. Johnson. Yes, I almost did.
Thank you, Dr. Vaughn. I'm not sure why I'm thanking Dr. Vaughn, because last year I had a nice cushy job where I sat way back in the auditorium and didn't have to come up to the podium. The next morning, Dr. Vaughn came to me and he said, Dr. Yarwood, and I know I'm always in trouble, because when he likes me, he calls me Bill. He said, Dr. Yarwood, I noticed that you were isolating yourself in the auditorium last night, sitting way over in the corner. He said, I certainly hope next year that you'll show a little more interest in the activities and find a seat a little closer to the events going on and show a little more interest. Well, I had no idea I was going to move from that nice cushy spot back up to the podium. But I do, all kidding aside, I do welcome the opportunity tonight to do one of our introductions. And also, I also appreciate it because it gives me a chance to add my congratulations to the juniors and seniors that we have with us tonight. You really are, academically speaking, North Penn's finest, and we're very proud of you, and we're pleased to be, all of us are pleased to be part of this program tonight. I have the good fortune this evening of having the opportunity to introduce our first speaker, who happens to be one of my counseling colleagues here in the North Penn School District. Our speaker is a member of the class of 1975. She was a member of the Marching Knights and played the clarinet during each of her 3 years in the band here at North Penn. In addition to that, which is quite an accomplishment, she was a 3-letter athlete, earning varsity letters in field hockey, basketball, and softball. National Honor Society and Leaders Club, which today is merged with Key Club, were among her other many school activities. Tonight's speaker went on to Ursinus College, where she earned a BA degree in 1979 with a major in psychology. At the college level, she played varsity softball and played leadership roles in various campus organizations, including her sorority. She earned her master's degree in counseling from Antioch University in 1981, and since that time has further studies in both educational and social administration at Temple and most recently at Penn State. Her professional career includes case management work and administrative work for the Eagleville Hospital's Family Resource Center. And prior to returning to North Penn, she was both the lead counselor and more recently the school director of the Lincoln Alternative School in Norristown. Our speaker joined the professional staff at North Penn as a high school counselor in 1988. She was filling in for one of our high school counselors who was on leave, and she's now in her second year as a full-time permanent counselor in the North Penn Junior High School. As her supervisor, I can vouch for the fact that she does a superior job in that role, and that she's a constant source of ideas and innovations which are helping us to get better and to do a better job each year. She's the kind of person that we at North Penn can be proud to count among our many graduates. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you Mrs. Darlene Johnson.
You know, when you hear all those things, you wonder if they're talking about you. Although it brought back a lot of fond memories as I heard the things that I enjoyed while I was a student at North Penn, and just acknowledge how much it helped me in my career that I'm doing right now. And although our administrators have already gone, we certainly want to acknowledge them tonight, as well as the faculty and staff that are present, to the parents and friends that were able to share in this celebration. And last, but certainly not least, to our distinguished students at North Penn High School that we are all here to honor this evening. Again, it's with great pleasure and excitement that I stand before you as a faculty member of this district and a former graduate of this high school. As I thought about what I might say this evening, a lot of things crossed my mind. I started to think, should I begin with talking about the involvement that I had here and how it has helped me in college and graduate school, as well as working here as a counselor at the high school and the junior high. And I thought, no, after the introduction, they've probably heard enough about me and probably time to move on to something different. And I also thought about maybe sharing with you someone famous that you might all connect with in some way. And again, I decided that I didn't think I'd do that either. And although I do want to talk about accomplishments, and although I do want to talk about achievements, I think the best way to do that is to focus on the individuals that are here in this auditorium tonight. For each of you should feel proud of your past and present accomplishments and ready to accept the challenge of the future. For you are students who thought it not robbery to be the best that you could be. Students who were willing to put forth that extra effort, who may have sacrificed talking on the phone, going to the mall with friends, for you were willing to put academics first. And for the choices you made, and sometimes difficult choices, we salute you. Edison once said, there are 3 essential ingredients for success. First of all, success requires hard work. Studying when you didn't feel like studying, staying up late or getting up early to complete homework assignments, and so much more. He said that success also requires stick-to-itiveness. What you have accomplished thus far is to be commended. However, there are yet accomplishments to be achieved in your futures. The challenge lies ahead to always do your best in all situations, to continue to maintain academic excellence at North Penn, and as you proceed through higher educational institutions. Sitting in this audience tonight could be the individual that finds an cure for AIDS, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, individuals that will and can make a difference, but only if you are willing to stick to it, to persevere, to hang in there when the going gets tough. Edison added one more ingredient to his recipe of success. With all of your knowledge, never forget to use common sense. As you strive to reach the stars, be sure to keep your feet planted on solid ground. And as the opportunities knock on your door, be willing and anxious to get up and open the door. You must be willing to prepare yourself physically, emotionally, and academically to meet the challenges ahead. One evening as I was walking my dog on his daily walk, I gazed into the sky and just marveled at the beauty of the stars. How magnificent, how bright, each having its own energy. And tonight, as I gaze into the faces of the honored students, I again marvel at the beauty, the uniqueness of each star. As stars in your own right, I encourage each of you to allow your starlight, your star bright, to twinkle and shine in the future, as well as the present. To shine in a way that allows you to truly make a difference in the world in which we live. A story was told of a teacher who arranged to take her class on an educational tour of a farmyard in order to stimulate her students. But one small boy saw right through her scheme. "Don't look, he warned his friends. "If we look, we'll have to tell about it tomorrow." And in closing, I would simply say, please, be willing to look, be willing to get involved, be willing to continue your climb towards excellence. To the parents of each student and to the teachers and administrators of this fine school district, we say thank you for the opportunity to work together, and may we all vow to continue to provide the leadership, the opportunities, the love, and the support necessary to give our children the best and the most exciting educational experience possible. Thank you.
I'd also like to add my congratulations to the juniors and seniors here for the accomplishments that you made at North Penn High School last year. And I'd particularly like to say to the students in this audience who are my students that I congratulate you on the great courage of being here this evening on the night before my first exam. It is a great pleasure for me, as a member of this faculty, to welcome back to the stage at North Penn High School a graduate from the class of 1978, a young man who, while here at North Penn High School, not only excelled academically, but also challenged himself in the area of speech and debate, forensics, to become the state winner in his senior year of the American Legion Oratorical Contest, and to finish fourth in the nation in that contest. To serve in various capacities over 3 years as a member of the Student Government Association, as a representative, as a chairman, and as a coordinator in his junior and senior years. A student who branched out away from the campus as a senior to be involved in the career study program with NPTV Radio for half the year, and with the North Penn School District Office of School and Community Relations, writing articles for the newspaper and articles for inside information publications. As a graduate of North Penn High School in 1978, our speaker went on to Dartmouth College, where he received his degree in both English and computer science in 1982, and then on to the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, where he graduated in 1986 with a degree in human resources management. Until 6 months ago, he was working for the First Boston Corporation, a major Wall Street financial institution. And 6 months ago, through the auspices of First Boston and IBM, was part of a group to pioneer the development of a new company known as Sear Technology Incorporated. He is now Vice President and Director of Human Resources for that corporation. Ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker this evening for the class of 1978, Mr. Phil Weber. Phil.
The first thing they teach you in a public speaking class is to make sure the individual who introduces you adjusts the microphone to your height, which is why Jim Finnemeyer was chosen. And the second thing they tell you is to beware when the introduction is longer than what you yourself have to say. And I thank Jim for his kind words. I spent a lot of time in speech classes at North Penn. I enjoyed that. And when we talked about what kinds of things to say coming into a program like this tonight, the best advice I got was to share some things that I remember from North Penn. And the first and most vivid memory that came to mind was of a fellow student in a public speaking class who had obviously not prepared that day, who on his way to the podium, having been called on, stopped at my desk and said to me, "Do you have my notes?" And I looked at him and he said, "Oh, there they are," and grabbed a yellow notepad that had absolutely nothing on the front. He and I were the only two people in the room that knew that. And he walked to the podium with my blank notepad, and he held it like this, and he looked at the teacher, and he looked at the pad, and he looked at the teacher, and he looked at the pad, and he went, and turned the pad face down, as if to say, "I'll speak off the top of my head." I've always kept that particular memory from North Penn, thinking that one day I would need a blank notepad for fear of not having anything to say and not knowing what to say to the audience. And it just about happened tonight, because I came in here thinking to myself, what do I have to say to the individuals who are the best and the brightest, who have achieved outstanding academic success, to the faculty members who helped them get there, to their parents, and to the school board who, and all of the administrators who helped them along the way. I do, however, have a few things that I'd like to share with you, and I haven't had to resort to the notes. It's funny when you come back that the smells and the faces and the sounds and the cafeteria food bring back all those memories. It's not as bad as we all remember. It was pretty good, and all of that begins to bring back a number of memories about North Penn High School. I remember being part of the speech class, and I remember thinking to myself when I was involved in the career study program at WNPV that I might like to go into broadcasting. And I envisioned myself having a name like Dirk Fairbanks, News Director. Now, many of you have listened to WNPV. If you actually were to graph the listenership of the local radio station, it's kind of like this. And there's this big peak for 15 minutes before and after the snow closing announcements. I thought you'd recognize me if I were to say, North Penn High School will be closed tomorrow. Some lights go on out there, and some people are like, I remember that voice. I went to Dartmouth College with some thoughts of being in broadcasting. Majored in English and was particularly active in the college radio stations. Was very enthusiastic when I got out that I got a job in broadcasting. Now, the conventional wisdom at the time was that when you graduated and left Hanover, New Hampshire, which was a very small town, you went to a much bigger market, like Laconia, New Hampshire. And from there, you worked your way up to the big time to Wilkes-Barre, Harrisburg, Phoenix, and eventually into Hartford, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, and the big time in New York. So I began my career in western Massachusetts, in a little town called North Adams. Nearby is Williams College, but in North Adams there's not much at all, except a small radio station, which really is the only means of communication in the area, to the extent that there's not really a newspaper in the area, so the radio station fills all the roles in the community, including announcements of new births, which they called What's New in Pink and Blue. I kid you not. And perhaps worst of all, the only place I have ever been where they did obituaries on the radio. Now, being the new person in town, I was the one who was working the midnight to 6 a.m. shift on Saturday nights, which was the time the undertakers in town used to like to drop by with the announcements. And I can remember them sneaking up on me in the studio and tapping me on the shoulder and saying, I have something for you, Phil. And then having to read the announcement. My time in North Adams was short. It was, I thought, not the best way to get off on a career in broadcasting, particularly with my background at North Penn, what I thought was an outstanding academic background at Dartmouth, and my experiences to that point. So I thought to myself, well, as a bright graduate of an Ivy League college and a fine, outstanding student in my own right at that time, there must be an easier way. And so I called the college and I got the roster of alumni, particularly those in the broadcasting area. And I went down the list and there were some very distinguished names, but one came to mind right away, who was an individual named Bill Butel, who any of you who have been in the New York area know of as the evening anchor person for WABC New York. And I called Bill Butel and was very surprised when the phone was answered by a man who simply said, Butel, because I was all ready to tell his secretary my whole story. And somehow in the conversation, I managed to get out the words, Dartmouth, radio, Philadelphia. And the next thing I know, I was sitting at home, and the telephone rang, and Larry Kane from Channel 10 in Philadelphia said to me, Bill Butel tells me you're a hell of a broadcaster. It was 3 days after that when they took me into the newsroom at KYW, the news radio station in Philadelphia, when the news director met me and said, Larry Kane tells me that you have enjoyed a long and distinguished career in broadcasting. And in the back of my mind, I heard the jingle for What's New in Pink and Blue playing. The news director at that time spent probably 3 times the amount of time that he should have rightfully spent with me at that point in time. And at the end of the whole thing, said to me, you know, there ain't no easy way. You gotta go out there and get the experience. Someplace like Wilkes-Barre or Harrisburg, and work your way up. And I took that advice, and I thought that I would spend some time this evening, just a few minutes, and set the record straight on a few things. The first thing is, there ain't no easy way. I found that out and went back to WNPV for 2 years in Lansdale, the last time that I had really lived here. Enjoyed my time immensely. The opportunity to be at home in an area that I knew, to do news reporting, to be a part of the high school activities here, a tremendous activity. As far as this academic excellence thing is concerned, let's set the record straight on that too. I got to college having finished North Penn and was not fortunate to be involved in a program like this because there wasn't one at the time, but got to college reasonably full of myself, reasonably sure that in fact I was one of the best and the brightest. What I found was a campus of 3,000 of the best and the brightest. I had the sole distinction of being able to say that I was the only freshman in freshman English at Dartmouth College who had already read Paradise Lost. Let me set the record straight on something else. I never really liked Paradise Lost when I read it at North Penn. But having gotten to college and having seen it again, I can tell you I still really don't like Paradise Lost. But that I am very happy that I was made to read it here, encouraged to read it here, and had the opportunity to have that kind of exposure and a number of other academic exposures at North Penn that, quite frankly, some of the best and the brightest that I ran into later had not had. I'm in a position now where I'm an alumni recruiter for Dartmouth. Many of you who have applied, will apply, or are thinking of applying, will start to get phone calls from recruiters toward Christmas, alumni who will want to meet with you as representatives of the alumni office. This has always been a concern for me. While I work in New York City, I live in North Jersey, and I've never felt comfortable recruiting at home. There's just something about calling up and saying, "Oh, I'm Mr. Weber, and I'd like you to send your daughter to my house for an interview." So I insist that I interview at my office. I feel a lot more comfortable calling parents and having their students sent over to my office. It also, quite frankly, is a little more intimidating for the student, and that puts me in a better position at that time when they come into a large building with a lot of people running around and looking very busy. The people that I tend to run into, the students I run into, come from schools like Bronx Science, from some of the best magnet schools in New York City. They are outstanding individuals in their own rights. Not one, and I can honestly tell you this, not one who I have seen in 3 years is as well-rounded, well-presented, articulate, and able to make their point as the average North Penn High School student. And I've always wondered whether there was something wrong with me or something wrong with the students who we were interviewing. I am continually impressed when I come back here and when Jim Finnemeyer invites me to make presentations like this, wherever they may be, at the caliber of the students. I had a young man come in for an interview last fall. He was living in the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan. His father was a vice president for Hyatt Corporation. He had lived in Hyatt hotels around the world since he was 7 years old. And so to start off, I kind of pitched him a slow ball and said, "It must have been interesting living in all those places." To which the young man responded, "Yeah, it was okay. I never had to clean my room." A profound disappointment for me at that point. I'm continually impressed when I come back here. Let me set the record straight on something else. As much as we are impressed with what you have achieved, it is not nearly so impressive as how you have achieved it. There are an awful lot of people in the company that I work for who know where the symbolism is in Paradise Lost. They don't necessarily like it either, but they know where the symbolism is. There are an awful lot of people that I work with who can solve differential equations. There are an awful lot of people out there in the world who have your education and your background and who are just as smart as you. The difference is that I think that we should celebrate tonight the fact that you as students have achieved some exceptional standing among your peers. It is the achievement, it's the getting down to it and the doing of the job that I'm interested in. And let's just set the record straight on another point. It ain't easy. For some people it is, but for many others it is not. At this point in time, I'm Director of Human Resources, which is a highfalutin way of saying I run the personnel department for a new company. We are a growing firm. I spend the majority of my time hiring, interviewing, screening, trying to find the right people for our organization. I had a gentleman in the other day who was in fact one of the best and the brightest, who did have it easy. He interrupted me halfway through the interview, and this is a true story, I swear to you. He interrupted me halfway through the interview and said, "Do you mind if I use the phone?" He picked up the phone on my desk. I said, "Should I step out?" He said, "No, please stay." He dialed a number, and all he said was, "Honey, go ahead, buy the car, they're going to give me the job." And he hung up the phone. Let's just set the record straight on something else. I hired him because he was qualified. But yes, indeed, I hired him. There are very few people in this world who can get away with something like that. If it's you, I congratulate you. If you've gotten here by slipping through, I congratulate you. If you've gotten through on sheer chutzpah, I congratulate you. For the most part, I think you're here because you worked for it. And that's the part that impresses me most. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is what I do during a regular day. One of my recruiters came into my office today and said, "You know the newspaper ad we ran on the Sunday Times? I can't look at all the responses. There are too many. I can't screen them fast enough." I said, "Fine, I'll look at some of them." He came in with a stack about this high, representing 875 resumes that had been sent to us in response to our newspaper ad. I said, "Okay, I'll take half." He said, "This is half." I said, "Thank you." And I set about the process of reviewing the 12-inch high stack of resumes from job applicants. A lot of them you can put aside immediately. People who are writing just because you might have something and they know that they're clearly not the individual you want. There are many, though, who are just about qualified. I spent my day today screening resumes. Of those that I saw, of the 875, my past experience is that we will interview less than 2%. Less than 16 of the 875 people who took the time to write me a letter and send a resume will be asked to come in and spend a half an hour with me. Of those, if we are very fortunate and if we worded the advertisement correctly this time out, we will hire one. Less than 1/10 of 1% of all applicants are hired by my firm. We are truly seeking the most intelligent, creative, outgoing, progressive people we can possibly find. And I thought about it and thought to myself today, what we're trying to do is gather together in my company the kind of group that's gathered together tonight. For the rest of your lives, people will be trying to put this particular group back together again. In a few months, colleges will be recruiting you for your achievements, for your potential, and they'll be trying to assemble freshman classes like the group that we have here today. And once you're on those college campuses, sororities and fraternities will try and assemble groups of the best and the brightest and the most motivated and the individuals that they want to represent them. And when you graduate college, it'll happen again for many of you in graduate school. And for some of you, it'll happen in the armed forces. And for some of you, it will happen with individuals that I call corporate recruiters, who many of you know of as headhunters, who will constantly scour telephone directories of major corporations, trying to find the people who have achieved, and trying to put together a database filled with names of people whom they could present to me for a fee as potential employees of mine. Take a look around at the people who are with you tonight. Because when you leave here and get in your cars and drive out the driveway onto Valley Forge Road, in a matter of minutes, this group will blend in with everyone else in the world. And from here on in, people will constantly be trying to reassemble this group. I myself do it on a daily basis as I'm screening resumes, trying to find the top 1%. It is a pleasure to have you here tonight. I wish that you could come back 5 years from now, knowing that there's no easy route and you have to go first to Wilkes-Barre and then to Harrisburg. And after you've done all that, I'd love to have you come back, and I'll be happy to grant you an interview on my time. I congratulate you. I thank you for inviting me back. It's a pleasure to be back at North Penn, and I wish you the best luck for this school year.
I'd like to thank Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Weber, two of North Penn's best and brightest. We do congratulate you on your successes, and we wish you both very, very well. And I'm sure that you leave a message for all of us, not just our students this evening. And what we'd like to do now is to recognize our brightest and our best. And to do that, I'm going to ask Mr. Hines, assistant principal this year for 10th grade, will help behind the table with the presentations. And Mr. Twyford will come to the podium and call the names of those students in 11th grade who are our brightest and our best. The procedure will be as follows. Mr. Twyford and Dr. Pope will come to the mic, and they will call off a row. They will say, Adams to Jones. Now, those of you who are sitting out there with names fall between Adams and Jones, sophomore, this is juniors or seniors. Juniors over here. You will come to the step, and as I call your name, you'll come across the stage. When Dr. Pope calls Adam to Jones on this side, they'll come up that side and do the same thing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, please don't mess this up. Please. Brightest and our best. Mr. Twyford.
Thank you, Dr. Ball. Trouble is, he never gave me the list of rows here from Mr. Finnemeyer, I guess. But we'll do our best here. Before I call them up, Dr. Bond did ask me to keep my congratulatory remarks very brief. I thought at least if my students did not applaud, at least our faculty would. But I would like to say that the class of 1992 has made us extremely proud in the year they've been at North Penn High School, and they have made a difference. And to fully appreciate them, I'd like to say to their parents, I hope you get the opportunity to hear at some point while they are here the wonderful things that I hear every day from our teachers. For they are the true testament of what they do here. And I, of course, would like to add my congratulations for their fine work. And I'd like to ask everyone whose last names begin with A through G to please start with Kelly and come on right over here, please. The true test tonight was to see if the best and brightest could put themselves in alphabetical order. And please hold your applause until they are all recognized. Kelly Barnes. Mark Barrer. Sandra Bean. Allison Bell. Joshua Bernstein. Karen Boyle. Curry Callahan. Kurt Campman, Tara Carpenter, Ahmad Chowdhury, Charles Cleland, Estelle Coulter, Michelle D'Angelo, Francis De La Paz, Edward DeVirgilis, Tung Din Do, Tong Thao Duong, Holly Fetcher, he needs a round of applause for that. Holly Fetter. He's the guy that will call his wife in 5 years and say, honey, order the car. Right? Jennifer Frankel. Jennifer Gers. Amy Grabish. Thomas Groff. And Ted Gillisarian. Would those students whose last names begin with H through M please come up? Daniel Hahn, Melissa Hartranft, David House, Peter Hauser, Stephen Ho, Carrie Holbert, Claire Horton, Lisa Jastrzewski, Laura Johnson, Daniel Jones, Benjamin Kratz, Chris? No, I didn't think so. Chris, and you're Margaret. Margaret Lentz. Christine Masiolik. David Manning. Stefan Matalia. Sean McCrae. Susan McGinty. Carol McLaughlin. Morgan McMillan. That's her. And Jojo Mejia Jr. Jennifer Mulhall. And with those students whose last names begin with N through S, please come forward. Nicole Nestoria. Jack Norsworth. Dr. Bowen, do you recognize these two young men? They're still together and they're going to walk in front of the principal again. Stephen Nice. And Jason Ostrowski. Kiran Patel. Daniel Perlberger. Lisa Petrillo. William Petty, Jr. Aaron Pittman. Maxine Polomsky. Ritu Prasad. Beta Prisbinda. Stephen Ragona. Timothy Rao. Kimberly Roach. Kristen Schickling. Amy Saran. Sukan Shah. Stephen Shapiro. Rebecca Simmons. Jeremy, no, that's not Jeremy. I should look first. Elizabeth Slide. Amy Stone. Jeffrey Stewart. Jennifer Strobel. And Brian Strohecker. And would all those students whose last names begin with T through Z please come forward. I should mention that students who have achieved this level in 10th grade receive certificates this year, and if they again achieve that level next year, they get extra special. Some of our seniors will be getting keychains tonight also. Kimberly Tan. Seniors, the keychains aren't quite that nice, so Let's give our juniors their attention. Thank you. Alan Teddy. Sandra Townsend. Katie Trifoletti. Colin Tucker. Karen Waters. David Waxman. Eric Weber. Rachel Welbank. Courtney White. Deborah Wolf. And Tori Young. As you can see, a few of our students could not be with us tonight. One of our students listed on the program is not here for a very unique reason. Miss Laura Scattergood is representing North Penn High School as an exchange student at our sister school in Aalen, Germany for this school year. And she also achieved this honor this year, and I'd like to ask her parents to come forward and accept that for her. Her parents?
Good evening, everyone. I am very grateful and very proud to be part of the Academic Awards program at North Penn High School. Thank you, Dr. Bond, for the privilege and the opportunity to announce the names of the senior class who excelled academically. Congratulations to seniors, juniors, faculty, and parents for achieving excellence and for creating the climate for excellence. May you celebrate and relish in the accomplishment. Now, senior scholars, please come forth. Letters A through G. David Averbach. Abra Benson. Samuel Bergman. Leon Bernardin. Amanda Blair. Robin Block. Douglas Bach. Kevin Green. Amy Brent. Craig Buck, Gary Buck, Rachel Buckley, Megan Bunting, Avril Campbell, Robert Cohen, Todd Conley, Michelle Dearderin, Edward DiNapoli, Dilip Dudat, Robert Earl, William Engel, Austin Fairfield, Joshua Finger, Amy Fishman, Carrie Flango, Lori Flyzik, James Garfield, Heather Gazen, Shelley Gilmer, we would also ask that the students continuing with the G's line up through P at this time. And we will continue. Mark Goldberg, Lavinia Gottschall, Michelle Goyert, Andrew Greenberg, Donald Hall, Julia Hahn, Richard Hawkins, Patrick Hogan, Charles Hurst, Robert Johansson, Jessica Kinsey, Justin Cole, Kevin Kratz, Nisanga Lee. Alyssa Leibowitz. Aaron Liebergott. Amy Little. Michelle Lux. Nicole Lux. Avron Marcus. Jennifer McBreen. Catherine McCluskey. Timothy McDermott. Nicole Melnick. Deidre Minnemeyer. Timothy Mole. Robert O'Shea. Ross Ostroff. Michelle Paquette. We would now call the students continuing with P through Z at this time. And we will continue to read the names. Tara Pignoli. Jennifer Pinkowski. Rachel Pinsley. Dina Procaccini. Robert Radel. Lisa Randazzo. Nicole Ransom. Kelly Rogers. Lisa Rudolph. Michael Salin. Catherine Schoenfelder. Wendy Scrizat. Jason Strauss. Jennifer Strong. Melanie Strong. Christopher Tanzos. Karen Taylor. Grace Sway. Jeremy Victor. Linda Vogel. Stephanie Votaw. Scott Walker. We apologize for this deletion of the name, Estrada Youngstus. Uxtons, I'm sorry. Uxtons, please forgive me. Jeremy Victor. Linda Vogel. Stephanie Votaw. Scott Walker. Jennifer Ward. Sean Whitten. William Wardman. Congratulations to each and every one of you.
I'd like to call Mr. Weber, Mrs. Johnson, forward one more time, if you would, please. We have a gift. Academics plus athletics plus academics plus athletics plus...
Sound that out.
Activities equals excellence at North Penn High School. Thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to conclude this evening by asking the National Merit semifinalists to stand and be recognized at this time, please, with their parents. Rachel Buckley, National Merit semifinalist, Rachel Buckley. Austin Fairfield, parents, please stand. Austin Fairfield. Greta Hammond. And Christopher Tanzos. National Achievement semifinalist Nasinga Leanne Lee. Singa. And our commended students, David Auerbach, Samuel Bergman, Robin Bach, Young Ben Kim, Rajan Mita. Please stand. And Nicole Melnick. Miraj Patel. And Melanie Strong. We are extremely proud of all of these young people. We are proud of what you send to us at North Penn High School. And we're proud of what our faculty and administrative team can do for and with them. I do have to say, however, that I had to whisper in a couple of our young people's ears because I think that in some small portion some of the things that we're having are inappropriate. And I do that simply because we are very, very proud of what the inscription says, and that's excellent. And we're not satisfied in being as good as. We will not settle for anything less than the best, because that, in fact, is what you young people represent. The best that there is. And we're looking forward to helping you become the best that you can be. Thank you, parents. Thank you, faculty, administration. Thank you all for coming. And have a great evening and safe trip home.